nobody can do that. It's stupid.
Something unique about being in person.
Get out of your bubble.
Scream at people. YouTube thumbnail like
So I've never seen his face.
40 seconds to look at the CV, and it can look like crap. Nobody cares, but some of them just drive me crazy.
It's a long journey of self-discovery even.
Always to be that like controversial person.
You have to be a part of the community to contribute to it.
Uber for cat.
The imposter syndrome is real. We all have it. I have it.
I never have a script. LinkedIn with really, really good technical content. Never, ever leave a company in anger.
Today at C3 Dev Festival by GitNation, we are in Amsterdam with Bassem Dghaidi and Christian Heilmann. Bassem is a senior software engineer at GitHub, currently focused on building the next generation of GitHub Actions. Throughout his career, he has helped Fortune 500 companies and large corporate clients optimize their software development lifecycles and adopt DevOps best practices. Beyond his work, Bassem is an active podcaster and content creator, sharing technical and career insights across major social media platforms. Christian is a highly skilled front-end architect, manager, and team lead with over 25 years of experience in web technologies. He is the Vice President of Developer Relations at WeAreDevelopers and the author of the Developer Advocacy Handbook, continuously updated since 2006, and the first JavaScript book to cover Ajax. In addition, he is a freelance writer, educator, and speaker. Today, we are diving into personal branding for devs, why it matters, non-basic ways to grow it, social media tips, balancing tech content versus personality, offline strategies, and advice for first-time speakers. I'm Nathaniel, a developer evangelist at Twilio, and I work to create magical moments for developers with our products. Now, I'm a die-hard fan of JavaScript, sports, superheroes, and mixed martial arts, and I serve the JavaScript community in the UK and across Europe, and also I've emceed a few GitNation events. But today, I'm really excited to learn how I can up-level my personal brand as a dev. Now let's jump into our conversation.
Hey folks, and welcome to C3 Dev Festival. We are here and we've been having amazing talks and discussions all about coding, career, and creativity. And I thought, why don't I grab two experts in these three topics who are going to talk to us about personal brands. You may recognize them. They have built amazing personal brands and they're going to talk to us about how we can improve our personal brands ourselves. I'm here with the amazing Bassem and the wonderful Christian. So good to be here with you.
So my name is Bassem Dghaidi. I'm a senior software engineer. I currently work at GitHub, specifically on GitHub Actions. And in my free time, whatever time is left, by working 7 days a week, I create some content. I publish some educational, tutorials and videos about software engineering in general. What brings me joy lately, meeting awesome people who watch my content and give me a lot of great feedback about how much this has, impacted them, how much they've learned from it, and how much they're benefiting from it. So
that's awesome. I'm a big fan of your work, both your talk today, and I'm a big user of GitHub Actions. So thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you.
And Christian?
I'm Chris Heilmann. I'm the VP of Developer Relations at WeAreDevelopers. I used to be at Microsoft. I worked a lot with GitHub Copilot when I was there. Yeah, I'm very happy right now that things are falling in place for our own event next month, which was the bane of my existence for the last few months, to go through 1,800 submissions and pick the speakers. And I have sleep again now, so that's good.
Awesome. I mean, it's like having a baby, right? You no sleep for a while and then it matures and you're so proud of it.
Which is ironic because I just I hired a person to be in my department and he just had a baby. So he's like editing videos at random times. And I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm like, I couldn't sleep. The kid was crying anyway. So I woke up. So it's all good.
Fair enough. I mean, look, you two are both masters of your personal brand. And a C3 Dev Festival is the intersection of code, creativity, and career. And I think that is actually a good relation, having a personal brand in the developer space, because you bring in the code that's your day job, the career by having this personal brand, and then also creativity to stand out. So why don't we just start with what personal branding is and your take on it and why it's important?
Yeah, I can give a small take. It's a difficult question because it's quite open-ended. There's really no concrete definition for it. But the way I see it personally is just having some recognition outside of your immediate bubble, outside of your immediate zone of connections and network. On the one hand, it's not just necessarily about fame, but it's also, in my opinion, a personal brand is about the value that you bring to whatever audience you're, putting your content towards. It's about the journey that you actually go through. It's also sometimes the recognition for the work that you do. And it's about just being out there. There's a lot of benefits for it, which I think we're going to touch upon. but it's also a very difficult journey. It's not as easy as just creating a social media account and just being there. It's not just about pushing any type of content. There's a lot of effort and time and meticulous preparation that needs to go behind the scenes. There's also a lot of investment that needs to be done. So a personal brand is not just something that you wake up on a weekend and say, oh, I want to have a personal brand. It's a long journey of self-discovery even, before it is building an external facing brand as well.
No, absolutely. And I love what you said about how it's not fame. I think sometimes the two can be conflated. What do you think about personal branding as a concept, and why do you think it's important?
I was very lucky to accidentally stumble into it. I never did much effort on it, basically, because I mean, I'm visible as it is. So that was a thing that was very easy to find me in a crowd to start with. So that was helping me at events at times. I think it started with me. I think it was at Media 2005 in London. I begged my boss for like months and months to get a ticket to see some of the cool kids that do like new things like CSS and things. It took me 3 months to get the ticket, so I wanted to get my money's worth. And I basically asked every single speaker a question. I was that horrible person. But I basically wanted to get my money's worth and see like what else they didn't have to have. And then somebody came up to me and said like, hey, you really know this stuff, don't you? And he's like, yeah, I'm a lead engineer, but I haven't done any blogging or anything like that. And that's how I got my first book contract back then. He's like, okay, do you want to write a book about this stuff? And I'm like, sure, that sounds like not like work at all, so let's do that. And I think that was a thing that basically my name recognition and being on the right news channels, news groups back then, and email groups and these kind of things, email lists, and later on like writing for like magazines like A List Apart and these kind of things. That's when the breakthrough came. But I never really went for the like, here's me as a brand or here's me as me. It's always the same thing. I think authenticity is a very, very important bit there. There's many people that actually do like a massive effort to be like this YouTube person that they're not. That would do my head in. I couldn't do this. I couldn't be honest with myself if I were that person that switches from like presentation mode to like me mode. I used to work as a radio journalist, so I know that my voice had to be differently when I recorded for the radio. So I do have a different sound on stage than when I speak to people normally. That is good, because otherwise you would scream at people. But I think the whole concept of like, I'm going to be a content creator and have like a wacky personality can work, but it wouldn't do it for me at all. And that's with you as well. You're like super yourself. You're just there with your microphone talking into the camera sideways, rather than like looking fancy and being very on every YouTube thumbnail, like the amount of people that look like they've just been run over by a bus on their YouTube thumbnails is just amazing.
No, for sure. I love how you kind of highlight the personal part of personal branding, right? I mean, it clearly works for some people, maybe the more YouTuber style, but then for others, maybe, and I love how you said you accidentally did it, because a lot of people, maybe even watching, are accidentally building a personal brand. So why don't we kind of split this down to two tracks? What are some of the accidental or subtle, or the things that maybe people don't pick on that are great strategies into picking a brand? I mean, we could start with the fact that like you went to conferences and interacted and engaged with the speakers and things. What are just a few other things that people could start doing that may not seem directly related? It's not like starting a YouTube channel, but help you build that network that maybe you can then leverage.
I think coming across helpful is really useful. Doing pull requests, commenting on people's stuff in open source with your name, and not with an avatar that's like a house on fire or something, but really is your face. That actually gets recognition, and that actually makes it quite obvious. I mean, I ironically had like a comic avatar of myself for years and years, because it was done by the same person that did the Firefox logo, and it was just fun seeing that thing. And a lot of people associated me with that more than with my real photo. But later on, I just realized like I don't want to have these two things there. But being helpful and being just available is, I think, is a good first start. Like being seen as somebody that aids the whole ecosystem, like open source, by commenting, by documenting, by fixing typos, and just getting your name known that way is a very, very interesting thing. Or when there is a mosh pit going on Twitter, that you would be a voice of reason in between and say like, well, I would love to learn about this more. It's not helping that you're actually bashing each other right now. It would be a great message to get to know a person who we don't know yet. I think that would be something that would stand out for me that way.
No, I love that.
I brought Simon Willison one time. He's the co-creator of Django on my podcast. And one of the things that Simon does very, very well is he has a blog called Today I Learned. And he literally shares there exactly the stuff he learned on that particular day. It doesn't have to be super well polished. It doesn't have to be sort of a publication of sorts. It's just small stuff that he, picked up on the day. And that blog is like fantastically popular right now. And he spent decades, building it up from small things. So as Christian said, and you also highlighted that in your talk earlier today, it's just, small stuff. Start with your small circle, be helpful, add value wherever you can, and you build up from there with time.
And I love how a lot of these things are very similar to the things people are already doing. People are already maybe in work looking at people's pull requests and commenting. These are the muscles you're already exercising. So exercise them publicly in a place where everyone can see to help you grow your personal brand.
And the personal blog is a very important thing, I think, because that's a little world, little lily pad of the internet that you control and nobody can take away from you. It could be just Markdown, Jekyll script, generate things and put it somewhere on a hosting platform. Just use GitHub pages in a domain. It's fine. Like that's enough that you can do, because people that want to get into this start too hard to basically be the YouTube star within a week, or be like on a platform that's currently super successful. I mean, you could be a MySpace star and nobody knows it nowadays anymore because it's shut down. But your little corner of the world, which could be even your README on your GitHub profile. There's lots of generators for that, to actually have like a nice little front page on your GitHub profile. That could be the first thing that you own and you always have. Like, don't try to go into these cool channels and just rock them and just learn about how to optimize for clicks on YouTube and stuff. If you want to make money with it and that's your thing, fine. If you just want to get known or like just have a personal brand and recognition for what you are, don't try to play that numbers SEO game immediately. Just own something on the web that you're proud of. And it can look like crap. Nobody cares. It just needs to be your thing.
No, absolutely. And you know what? Now you've kind of picked up, because there's so many different platforms. Like you said, the personal blog, maybe there's a Medium blog. We've obviously got the YouTube. First of all, let's just talk about some of the panels and we'll work our way up. But first, let's talk about some of the maybe more organic channels like social media. So are there any strategies for you? I know a lot of it is maybe built into just your personality and what you do, but have there ever been times when you say, okay, I'm going to specifically choose to maybe exhibit certain behaviors or present myself in a certain way on social media or in a public channel like that in order to build or enhance my personal brand?
It's a difficult question. It's just, for me personally, I just aim to be respectful and I aim to bring insights as much as possible. And I aim to bring my own experience into any conversation that I'm in, right? Be it in a private community or even in a public space. I tend to avoid these heated Byzantine types of debates that lead to absolutely nothing. And I try to push myself towards, having an interesting conversation, even if we're just disagreeing about the points, right? Just bring in your own insights, bring in your own experience, your thoughts, your genuine take on certain things, even if people don't necessarily like it or disagree with it. I think as long as you're staying respectful, everybody will appreciate that type of thing and they will engage in good faith as much as possible. Not everybody does that, but
I mean, there is the fast rise of the rebel rousers on the planet, like the people who are super loud, very opinionated. But I mean, I don't want to deal with that whole stress that comes with that as well. I mean, like I interviewed DHH again the other day, and he's a very opinionated person, and he's done some amazing stuff. But it's just tiring to me, and it must be tiring for him as well, always to be that like controversial person. That makes no sense to me. That basically just causes other controversial people to go towards you.
it really depends on your objectives. Like if you wanna grow big, fast,
And I guess your personality, right? Because maybe some people, there is some joy in sparking debate and having lively debate. And then for some people, and I guess like everyone should figure out what the right balance is for them. Some people maybe don't even want to show necessarily a public face. I know a big, very popular YouTuber that I really like. I've never seen his face. I only see his voice. I only hear his voice. So there are definitely lots you can do. Okay, let's move away from maybe social media, because there are still other platforms that are amazing, like Stack Overflow, Hacker News, where people can maybe more focus on the technical content rather than the personality. How can people use like technical content and technical knowledge to enhance their personal brand?
I think there are several ways you can do that. I mean, I always accidentally, again, ended up on Hacker News because of things that I've written on my blog that people talked about there. And then I joined the debate afterwards and people like, oh my God, that's him, kind of thing. And you're like, oh yeah, you wrote thing about my stuff, so I probably should answer.
Said my name 3 times, I'm summoned.
Yeah, something like that. Again, I think Hacker News and Stack Overflow to a degree had also a competitive bit to me that I never liked. Like, okay, I want to get up. I mean, I talked about this a lot when I talk about indexing by AI, and I'm like, the first Stack Overflow answer was always the one that gave you the fastest result. It wasn't the best code. Every senior engineer knows the fourth or the fifth answer is probably the one where you should copy and paste the code from, because it was just like, or like W3 schools back then. It always gave you the result that you just had to copy and paste without thinking about it. So I think when it comes to these contributions, then GitHub is a better platform to actually let your code shine. And I released whatever I did as open source and as Creative Commons, so you can copy and paste my blog post. I don't care. And I think that's something that is very, very interesting for people, that your code has a good license that people can use and can play with. When it comes to social media, I'm actually floundering lately, and it drives me crazy because Twitter is a dumpster fire now, and I never cared about the news feed on Twitter. I never look at it. I just use it to post things, and when people answer on my stuff, I answer them and I answer DMs. I never saw it as a platform because it was really soon. It gave me like Sports News of America I couldn't give a monkeys about. And it was basically flooding with celebrity news because that's how they got their money. Medium was an interesting one. I thought Medium was really exciting because of the interface, that people can highlight bits in it and comment on it. So there's a lot of interaction and interesting comments coming in. But then they became very commercial and behind the paywall and stuff. So that was kind of a weird thing. I started using LinkedIn a lot lately, and a lot of people that were disenfranchised with Twitter did. And it's just really exciting to see like Ari Osmanis and people like that, like flooding Twitter with like really good technical LinkedIn with really, really good technical content. And I think that's because what I love about this, it's already in a work environment. It's not like in a hustle side thing environment. It's like people go there who are actually maybe developers that don't go to the events, that don't follow social media, but they go on LinkedIn because that's where their boss is, and they might read some good technical content there.
Here's the thing. I have a couple of thoughts on this. So the insight is that every social network has sort of a culture and maybe even subcultures that people need to understand before they can actually engage with, be it on Stack Overflow, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, Reddit even. And for you to understand and assimilate sort of this culture and be part of it, you need to spend some time and effort trying to participate in that. Even communities on Discord right now, even if you jump on a community and just want to be, present, it's just not going to happen. You have to spend your time sometimes lurking, understanding, absorbing, and then re-engaging in a meaningful way. And I think that's something that everybody can do on any platform once they understand that there's a barrier that they need to cross.
And once you understood Discord, because it got so many buttons and different things, I don't know what it is. Is it a chat? Yeah, no, but I'm like, okay, there's 5 voice messages, things in different channels, and I'm like, okay, I got Slack open as well, I got this open as well, I got those open as well. It's like there's so many. As I said, like the distribution is so big now because everybody tries to take the crown from Twitter, and Mastodon I like, but you cannot explain it to a normal person. They don't know what it is. They don't understand the whole, like, why is that not just mastodon.com and I log in and do the stuff. Blue Sky is a blue sky with a few clouds and the rest is empty. Threads is basically Instagram without photos, and it really is tough to find a place. I mean, you do the YouTube thing, I did the YouTube thing, just putting things there that I use in my blog posts. And I do the YouTube thing for my company now, so we do a lot more effort there. But TikTok, for example, I did a few things for VS Code. It had like 2 million views and a few good comments, but I was still like, I don't understand the platform.
I feel like there's so many different platforms.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's hard. But one thing you said, which I really love, is you have to kind of be there and lurk, understand the community, because there are those nuances. And you can't contribute to a community you are not part of. You have to be a part of the community to contribute to it. All right, let's step away from online, because like this conversation, I kind of led it and we focused a lot on online, but we're here in person. We spent today networking and meeting people in person. So let's talk about some of the things people can do by leaving their house, right? What can people do to get involved in the community and build their personal brand in person?
Look, I mean, this is something that's very important for me personally because I work remotely. I work from home. I don't necessarily engage with my colleague quite often in person. I create content and I just throw it into this black box that is the internet. I rarely get any, immediate feedback besides the likes and how a video has done. But I want feedback of substance. I want to actually engage with human beings. I want to have a conversation with people, and avenues like this conference, being able to join meetups that are quite local, even starting your own meetups about things you are interested in, are highly valuable to, again, get out of your bubble, get out of your circle of influence, and just get other insights and other feedback, right, about everything you do. But also what I love is the cross-pollination that happens when you engage with other people, right? I love to engage with people who bring something I have never even thought about, that just happens very organically through a conversation, and it's not necessarily scripted or driven or pushed in that way. That just happens, and I love that, and you cannot have that by being online.
No, for sure, for sure. I think there's something unique about being in person.
Yeah, and meetups are a very simple thing to get your first speaking engagements, because there's always like there's lightning talks, there's like a free stage, open stage at some events as well. And yeah, I mean, as I said, asking questions to speakers at events is a very, very good way to get known. And I mean, I had many people today come up to me and say like, "Oh, I'm sorry, can I ask you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm standing here. Like, I'm a developer. You are a developer, you too, I guess." Like, you know, but we had it yesterday in the hotel bar, because I know John Romero quite well as well. And I'm like, "John, are you okay? Were you for dinner?" And then somebody next to me, "That was John Romero. What did you do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's as much a dude as I am. Like, it's really like not that tricky." So not falling for the like, oh my God, that's the celebrity of the web. I mean, how ridiculous is that kind of thing? I think getting known that way, and meetups are happening all the time. Asking your own company to start a meetup as well, or to just do like a brown bag. What I did, introduced in Yahoo back then, as also part of the DevRel handbook that I wrote, was introduce the concept of internal lightning talks. Like every Thursday from like 11:45 to lunch break, we would have like a 15-minute session where somebody from the team had to present something that they learned about on the product that we had right now, what he thinks is a good solution, and then we had 5-minute discussion if we should make it a standard in the company to use or not. So that was really easy for people to get their first like public experiences for speaking, even in their own company, because it came from a source of knowledge. They already talked about something they just did on the day, so they didn't have to come up with a topic. Many people are like, "Oh, I wouldn't know what to talk about if I have to do public speaking." They already know something, and there's a positive aspect at the end of it, and that became so successful that like the sales department started doing these, and others did that. Another thing we did in company that is a really cool thing to get started, to just not get out there as a brand, but just to get the confidence and the self approval, is PowerPoint karaoke, which was always
I
cracked me up.
love
Like,
PowerPoint karaoke. All right, so there's a couple of terms that I just want us to explain, just in case people didn't know. Brown bag. So if somebody's watching, what is that, and how can they
a
get it
brown bag is
started?
normally an American thing. That's why we don't know what it means. It's because people had their lunch in a brown bag. So basically, you go to, during lunch break, you present something to your colleagues while they're eating. I always offered that when I was at events, to actually in companies that are in the city. So basically, that couldn't come to the event, but my company wanted to do something with them. Like first time was in Amsterdam a few years ago. I went to Albert Heijn and basically gave a brown bag at their office there, because they wanted to do something with Edge back then that they didn't know how to. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, I can come around for an hour and talk to you and get some free food. Excellent, let's do it that way." And the PowerPoint karaoke is you download random PowerPoints from the internet, and you have 5 minutes to present them, and you don't know what the next slide is. And that's a really, really good topic, because it helps you being independent of stage tech. To me, slide decks are wallpaper for my talk. I never have a script. I just write down things I want to cover, and the rest I ad lib around it. That keeps you very, very safe from any technical glitches.
I will say that slideshow karaoke is an amazing tool if you do want to up your public speaking game. It is, and it's also a fun party game as well. I've actually played it at parties. It's really fun.
Halfstack, the conference that is did an extra level to it, where they did like, instead of having just PowerPoint karaoke, people had to pitch companies that didn't exist. And that was just really random slides, according to like, it's like Uber for cats or something like that. And that was also interesting, because you didn't have a technical aspect, but even the salesy people that would be at the event would go for that kind of stuff. So that was interesting too.
Now, awesome. So I love this. We've told people like they can start maybe getting involved in the meetups, getting involved in the community, and then maybe even cultivating a community at work, wherever they are. That can also help build your personal brand, because a lot of times the colleagues you work with are not going to be at that company forever. And when they leave, they become personal connections rather than company connections as well.
Never ever leave a company in anger. Never be the person that goes on Twitter and complains about how horrible your last company was. Our market is smaller than you think. And people that might be just a junior developer now might be the CEO of a company in 5 years' time that you want to be in. If you're unhappy, just leave, but don't be that person that shouts out how horrible your company is in public, because you don't do that with people. You get slapped if you do it with people. So you shouldn't be surprised if you not get slapped by a company if you do it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that like burning bridges should be careful. I definitely think that there is maybe a place when somebody's trying to just call out a specific toxic behavior, but really and truly not burning bridges and making sure that you keep that professionalism is so important. So why don't we kind of switch lanes from like just like in person and doing that? Now people want to start speaking. They want to actually start getting to conferences, maybe doing workshops. How does one progress from, okay, I've given my first talk at a meetup or maybe done a few sessions at our brown bag at work? How can I get from there to a big conference like C3 DevFest? You folks have both spoken here, so how did you go on that journey?
Awesome. I'll start very quickly. I've interviewed a couple of folks who are, early, not juniors, but junior mid-career, maybe have had 2 or 3 years in the industry. I invited them on my podcast because I wanted to share their perspective. And one of them is called Dunya. And Dunya wasn't really a public speaker. One time at work, she was invited to give an internal talk. And at the same time, she was also invited for another type of conference. She prepared one technical talk and she delivered it, and she, discovered that she enjoys this. Going through the CFP process or the, call for paper process can be intimidating for people. So when conferences open up their call for paper, try to submit something you want to talk about that you're interested in. Make it something you are interested in first and foremost. Don't necessarily optimize for any other factor. Don't be intimidated if you get rejections. There are thousands of papers, especially for big conferences, when you submit a CFP. I would highly recommend that you be as genuine as possible. I've reviewed some of the paper submissions for WeAreDevelopers. Avoid using the ChatGPT and all of that stuff. Write it down yourself, communicate the value as early as possible for what you want to try to present. Make sure that you have, something of substance and an actual experience you want to talk about. I would love to see less marketing in conferences and genuine people coming in to share their own, something they've built, something they're passionate about, something, no matter how trivial it is. And a couple of things, the imposter syndrome is real. We all have it. I have it. Even though I've spoken at many different places, I have, public presence, I still get a lot of anxiety before going on stage. That's okay. It's never going to fade away. We all have our, bad thoughts about things that we are lacking. So don't let that stop you from actually pursuing speaking at conferences and engaging.
And yourself, because you've spoken on some big stages.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, like, as you said, like the excitement or the anxiety never goes away, but it's an energy level. You just have to polarize it differently. Nobody's gonna go on stage with like a fish hook and get you off stage, like, or just beat you down. Like you have your 40 minutes there, use them. And I totally agree with you. Like when you write something, especially for the first time, talks that basically say like, here's how I taught myself a thing that I didn't think I was clever enough for, are a wonderful thing to have on stage. That's a very simple thing. Let's being honest about your journey and not like trying to be an expert that you're not. I just looked through 1,800 submissions for our event, and the ones that were obviously ChatGPT generated, I immediately, like, I couldn't be bothered. But there were things in there that were full of typos, that were basically people that were like not really structuring it, but I saw the genuine interest, and that would be very much like viral on stage. People would be like, hey, I'm feeling insecure, but that person had the courage to go up there and do that. I think that's a very, very powerful thing to do. One big thing that I found that was that I did that a lot of people were like, wow, finally somebody. I just had a speaker terms thing on my GitHub where I'm like, okay, here's my bio, here's the photos, here's what I expect from the conference, here's what I will bring to the conference, and here's a few showstoppers, what I will not do or when I will not speak at your event. And just that as a one-pager, sending that with your CFP is just a very, very powerful thing to do, because we all as conference organizers don't have much time. It's much like a CV. When people give you like a CV to apply for a job with like 15 pages. At Microsoft, we got like 3,000 a week submissions that people want to start there. I had about like 40 seconds to look at the CV to basically, before I said to the HR person, oh, that's interesting or that's not. So don't beat around the bush. Just make it as easy as possible for you to become a speaker at the event by being clear about what you can bring and what you expect. And that is a really powerful thing, that basically the speaker terms that I have are on GitHub. You can fork them, you can edit them. It's a markdown file, it's nothing special. But I think it's just, it was a very powerful thing for people to have because they all ask the same things over and over again. And having your bio in one place where you can keep updating it is so useful because other than that, like they find some random things on LinkedIn from 20 years ago and put that in your bio if you don't send them the things in time.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been on stage where a person's been introduced as working at X. They come and say, oh, no, now I work at Y. No, for sure, for sure. So if these people want to write their books, like what are some of the ways they can get connected into the kind of tech book industry?
You can offer yourself as a tech advisor or a tech editor as well. Much like you can do like unit tests for an open source project that nobody wants to write. That's the same thing there. So if you're a tech expert and you say like, I would be interested in writing, I can offer to do a review. And you get free books that way as well because they send them to you for reviewing and before they even publish. So that's a really cool thing as well. Sometimes when I had other people that I talked to, they asked me to write a foreword for their book. That's often a thing that you get asked to as well. That's a great way to get your name into that space as well. And the tech editing thing works both ways. So basically you can offer yourself as a tech editor, but the quality of your book is also how stringent your tech editor was. Much like how good your QA engineer was, like writing things that break your code. It's the same job that those people have. They're not horrible. They're just, they're doing a job.
Fair enough, fair enough. Awesome, awesome. All right, now we've gone from books, which is like a big staple in how people learn how to code and how people learn skills. But the thing that's exploded over the past decade is obviously YouTube, and you have your own YouTube channel. So tell us a little bit about the kind of YouTube thing. First of all, how you got started, how you grew, and any advice for other people who maybe they want to be in front of the camera and talking. How can they get there?
Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. YouTube is a beast. So I started about 3 years ago because I taught software engineering for 3 years at a boot camp that I started back in Lebanon. And a lot of people loved my teaching style, my ability to convey complicated ideas in very simple terms. They've always, pushed me to give them a little bit more. And I thought, since I was working at GitHub, it's an interesting, brand to be associated with. It makes sense it gives me some authority that I can start with, that people will want to listen to what I have to say, even though that doesn't necessarily mean I have something of value to say, but it's a good starting point, right? So, and I started YouTube by publishing videos about things I cared about. And GitHub Actions was one of these big topics that I was very much familiar with. There wasn't much content about it, the content that I wanted to see myself. It's very important when you are building for YouTube or TikTok or anything else to build things that are genuinely interesting for folks. Build things for what you want to watch, right? And I didn't know anything about doing videos. I had to learn it from scratch. If I look at the first videos I made, I feel a little bit of a cringe.
I feel like even Mr. Beast has it. Like if you look at his first videos, they look completely different.
Completely different. So it's a skill that you have to hone and build over many publications. But the thing is, it's like an optimization problem. Every time you publish a video, you need to make a small change to the better so that you can increase the production quality, the content, how fast you can communicate information. My GitHub Actions YouTube course right now has over 100,000 views on it. It has opened the doors for me to create courses about GitHub Actions, to talk at conferences, to attend many different events. And I expanded the videos that I make beyond just the technical, or to talk more about software engineering as a practice, to talk about my experiences every day as a software engineer. And now I publish on many platforms. I publish on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I've grew all of these networks together, and they've opened up amazing opportunities for me that I would have never imagined or had I not started with this. So my advice is start small, start about things you are very passionate and interested in. You don't have to communicate a lot of interesting, deep insights. Just record yourself doing something cool, teach a skill, put it out there. Next video, make a small change for the better. And after 140 videos, you will have great high production quality.
James Quick said the same thing. I think another thing that I wanted to point out is like, don't get discouraged by the first numbers not being high. You might have 200 videos that don't work, and one of them is the breakthrough thing. And also the monetization is not as good as we think it is. It's actually, sponsorship gets you actually more money for your videos than what YouTube pays you when you become. I mean, I had a few videos that I just uploaded for myself, and it broke the barrier, and then YouTube offered me a monetization for it as well. But it's really minuscule by now. It's really, really bad. But it shouldn't be the thing for you to do as well, unless you want to be the next Mr. Beast. But there was a great article in the Slate about how the time of Mr. Beast style videos is over. I'm good riddance. I'm very happy with that, because I don't like that overly salesy QVC end of the day kind of. I love so many YouTube channels that I watch, but some of them just drive me crazy. Like if every 3 seconds is a meme picture instead of like technical content, I'm like, that's what I like about yours. They're just laid back. They just give the information. If you want to be part of the like racing crowd to get like 15-second videos on TikTok that get people excited, great. But if it's a personal branding thing, then it makes more sense than to be more laid back in this kind of thing.
Absolutely. There are different ways. I want to touch on this point because it's very important. So YouTube is a completely different beast than TikTok. TikTok has popularized short form content where everybody just wants you to beat to the punch, share exactly the idea. You have 60 seconds to do it, cut all of the fluff, no nuance. I personally don't necessarily like that. I started with that just to build a small audience, but then I gradually transformed them into having the ability to watch a 6-7 minute video where I can actually discuss an argument or a topic with slightly a bit nuance. Nothing is black and white in our industry, and everything needs to be sort of laid down. We need to talk about experiences. We need to talk about things from multiple vantage points. We need to nuance topics. YouTube offers that, but you also have the boundary of the 10-15 minute mark. If you put videos that are longer than that, you're going to have lower retention rate in terms of viewership and whatnot. And that's why Mr. Beast puts something every couple of seconds. A lot of people have copied that, is because that increases sort of the retention rate by keeping people hooked on stuff happening on the screen. I think that's very detrimental to us in general. And it's very detrimental for the tech community to watch something that is always buzzing.
Yeah.
You need time to absorb ideas and thoughts, right? Sometimes you need to, Andrew Karpathy says it really nicely, sometimes you need to struggle to learn. For the ideas to solidify in your mind, you need to struggle through the learning experience, right? That doesn't necessarily mean watching a boring video, but it means also you need to pace yourself, slow down, and go through the journey.
No, for sure.
One technical trick I found the other day that is really working well with the short form, and I wrote about a chapter about this on the Developer Handbook as well, that basically you write the script, you act the script out to your camera, then you do the recordings of the things you show, and you speed them up and slow them down according to how you've spoken. Nobody does that live. Don't think that you're not as good as those YouTube people because they can talk live and code at the same time. Nobody can do that. It's stupid. What I really found out as well is interesting is when you do the looping thing for TikTok and for Shorts, you start with a sentence and you end with a half-finished sentence because these things loop. So the final sentence should go back to the first sentence and keep people in that loop, so they probably will watch it 2 or 3 times rather than only once. And it's a very, very simple trick to get like triple the retention on those shorts.
No, I love how like every single platform and its sub audiences have different techniques. And it's one of those things, like you said about starting, you probably won't be good at it when you get started, and just iterating and iterating and iterating. All right, we've talked a lot about so many different things, but I think honestly, the biggest personal brand you can leave is the impression you leave with the people you interact with, like just day by day. And how can people make sure they carry around their personal brand with them when they're walking and talking and meeting people out in the wild?
For me, it's about deeply engaging in every single conversation that you have as if it's the last conversation you're going to have ever. And right? Like, I mean, the experiences I have with people, we don't have time. Obviously, we all need to optimize our time, how we spend our time on this planet, right? But make every conversation you have as engaging as possible, and make sure you have an exchange where both you're receiving value and you're offering value as well. A lot of people think that because they have something to say, that other people will want to listen, and they just keep on blabbering for the next half an hour. Give time for yourself. You will be surprised by what people have to say in response to, you know, what we share with them. I think that's a great way to leave a mark, by being a great listener, but also adding as much of yourself to every conversation as possible.
Yeah, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that should be the ratio. And it's actually the amount of people that remember you for asking a good question and getting somebody else to drag them into the conversation and let them contribute. You're getting more known by that than being the person that has the one perfect answer. So keeping the conversation going and making people feel listen to is another great thing to get know.
No, honestly, look, I have interacted with you, and this is actually our first time meeting, and I already feel like you've given me so much, and hopefully there's a little bits I've been able to give back of value too. But thank you so much for everyone who's joined us and watching. But people maybe want to ask more, find out more. Where can people follow you and the content that you create?
Honestly, I'm on all platforms. That's very detrimental to my mental health. But you can find me on TikTok. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, Facebook somewhat, and YouTube, of course, and obviously GitHub. But just Google my name. If you also go to glitch.stream, glitch without a T, very bad branding mistake. But I thought it would be funny as a pun. Glitch.stream, you'll find the links for all my socials.
Awesome.
Yeah, christianheilmann.com, my blog. LinkedIn is where I answer quick a lot because I have to use it a lot with my new job. Twitter, CodePoet, Mastodon, also CodePoet on 2.cafe. That's the Mastodon problem, isn't it? Like, where are you? CodePoet on Mastodon should find me as well. And Gmail at christianheilmann.com.
And at worst case scenario, come C3 Dev Fest next year. They might be here in person. You should shake their hands. All right, that's enough from us. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the conference as you are watching. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.